Okay,
So,
mhm. So what you can do is you can deploy a multitude of different technologies in order to provide that multi-factor authentication. It doesn't always have to be a smart card, okay? And if you wind up losing it, you can quickly get rid of that in terms of what's in your database of acceptable hardware components in order to be able to effectively have security if it gets lost. Interestingly enough, on the latest types of things that have been going on, especially with like blockchain and the different types of cryptocurrencies and stuff, QR codes are really significant and play an important role in being able to send data back and forth as well as transmit funds if you wind up transmitting Bitcoin or whatever the case may be. So there's some really quite interesting things and technologies that are being kind of on the resurgence now. Okay, so we talked a little bit here about our security tokens. The next thing we'll talk about is this concept of a federation. So we're not talking about Star Trek. What do we mean when we talk about this concept of a federation, or kind of the capability to do federations across organizations? Anybody familiar with that concept? So let's suffice it to say that if a group or a set of organizations utilizes multiple applications or servers or something of that kind, and you have multiple times that you have to like sign in and get into different components, you may not want to be able to sign in like 75 times a day. It would be nice if you could do a single sign in into the federation and everybody would know essentially who you are. Okay, and so what do you think is good about that? What's good about having kind of like a single sign-on capability? Okay, so you're increasing probably your efficiencies. All right, what's a bad thing about a federation or a single sign-in capability? Okay, so then it causes significant disruption, because if something does happen and that single point of failure happens, then you wind up having to go through like what you're talking about and changing a lot of different things. Okay, so there's goods and bads. Just recognize that there are some differences or some challenges with those. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is, once you authenticate into a system and then you try to access, there may be times when you're giving access to organizations or systems that you don't necessarily want to have access. So, for example, we have this thing called transitive access, and essentially what that means is if you have multiple nodes, in this particular case, and what we're showing here, there's 3 different systems that are accessed. What we're saying is if our first system accesses another one, they kind of trust each other, right? With a transitive trust attack, what winds up happening is any third entity that has trust between A or B then automatically has access with everything on the network. And you didn't specifically say that you wanted that trust. And so that winds up being a significant issue. So just recognize the definition of what transitive trust actually means and be prepared to be able to talk about that or see it on the exam.
So company A, company B, and company C. Company B is the one that A and C trust, but because they trust each other, A can go to C and C can go to A.
That's exactly right. So in this first picture between A and C, you can see now that trust has now been established. And what if A only really wanted to talk to B? They don't want anybody else to talk to. Maybe they're antisocial. They don't really want to talk with C, whatever the case is. But there is a solution to that. And what that is you have a non-transitive trust where it precludes that from happening. And so this is generally at the code level to be able to prevent those kind of connections from occurring. Okay?
So if you go back to the other chart
says they can be mitigated with transitive trust. With non-transitive.
Non-transitive trust. Yeah, that's a typo. Good catch. Yeah, so it's non-transitive trust, just like what we had in the next one. So I will make a modification on slide 16. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and